So you're getting ready to make your next run through Baldur's Gate. And in picking a character class, we all have our favorite character classes, whether it's through the abilities or playing it through the storyline. Maybe it correlates to tabletop D&D. Fritz always plays a monk, so my default go-to class in Baldur's Gate would be a monk. But branching out and exploring other character classes, because it's not only making it through the story and trying out different adventure arcs and different subquests, but also exploring it from the perspective of an entirely different NPC party and kind of the character class itself. And we've been exploring building a checklist, some of the ideas to think about as you play. Let's take a look at the Cavalier, because I feel like we've been looking at the Paladin, we've been looking at the Fighter, we've been looking at the Barbarian, the Berserker. Cavalier is interesting because it's a Paladin, but it's a very, very focused Paladin. And it's focused on specific aspects of the game. It's not like Blackguard, and Blackguard's a pretty interesting class, but it's like we have Paladin and then we have the anti-Paladin. We have the Paladin with its abilities and the Blackguard just the inverted abilities. And that makes sense from that narrative perspective. So the Cavalier is kind of the version of the Paladin to the Fighter where, well, it's kind of like the inverse of the Fighter. No, it's something very, very special. So for me, the biggest question of the Paladin, you're going to have weapons proficiencies. You're going to have massive hit points. You're going to have the ability to utilize weapons and armor to deal a lot of damage, to take a lot of damage. So in that regard, it's a more forgiving character class to play, just simply because you're dealing a lot of damage. Certain encounters, when they start to become a problem, they'll already be half dead. Or if you take a couple of hits and you take some damage, you still have a good hit point pool and you can get the heck out of there, as opposed to playing, say, a wizard or even a monk. I mean, a monk has a decent pool of hit points, but not like the fighter classes out there. You do have to watch the monk and not really get thumped that much with it. But for me, the big question playing the Cavalier, are you playing through Baldur's Gate 1, Siege of Dragonspear, Baldur's Gate 2, and then I was going to say Baldur's Gate 3, not out yet, but Throne? Are you going to play through the whole saga? And I'm not going to give any spoilers, but the Cavalier is really something that wants to play, in my mind, out of Baldur's Gate 1, simply because the classical monsters that it wants to fight against, the classic Dragon Slayer, they don't exist in Baldur's Gate 1. That's not to say there aren't some hard fights in there. That's not to say there isn't some interesting stuff. But it is a very classical, lower-level AD&D type adventure. To really shine, to not only make use of those bonuses, but to put the kit to the test, especially in the future chapters of Baldur's Gate. Some of those encounters that fight those classical monsters, I'm trying to dance around the subject because I don't want to give away any spoilers. They're tough enough as it is. They're tough enough if you're a jacked up party and you're all tooled up. So having the Cavalier that gains an extra bonus, that doesn't make it an auto win. That doesn't make it a cakewalk. But the class is very, very powerful with how it wants to operate. And in that power, things get interesting because these classical monsters, they're not a one and done. They do appear at certain very, very, very key points in the game. And with those key points, you're kind of like, thank God my character is a Cavalier on there. It can be game-breaking and decision-breaking on there in a very good and positive way. So in my mind, yes, you're going to have fun playing the class because it's a fighter-type based and there's a lot of gear and equipment and weapons that are available. But it's the type of class that to really utilize its abilities, we want to go through the entire game as opposed to maybe just running through the first chapter.